Says the Gemara. So we're 12 lines down in Masechet Megillah Bet Amud Bet. Bishlema Rabbi Yoshua ben Korcha lo amar ketana didan. Remember that we just said that our Mishnah is not like Rabbi Yoshua ben Korcha, but Rabbi Yoshua ben Korcha says that the Krachina mukafin choma from when? From Achashverosh.
Yes.
Okay? Tana didan, our Mishnah was Yoshua bin Nun. So Bishlema, it is good. Bishlema means it's good. It is good. Rabbi Yoshua ben Korcha lo amar. He does not say ketana didan. Why? Telele prazi prazi. He doesn't have the gzera shava of prazi prazi. So it makes sense. Meaning, if a person doesn't have a gzera shava, which means he didn't learn it from his rabbi, because remember, gzera shava, you have to learn it from your rabbi. So if you didn't learn it from your rabbi, he's going to use svara. What's the logic? Achashverosh. It happened on Achashverosh. Everything's Achashverosh. Elatana didam mai tama lo mekabel shomel kolcha. But our Tana, why doesn't he hold like Rabbi Shimon Kolcha? Yeah, you understood the question. Remember, we always say, why does A not hold of B and why does B not hold of A? So I understand Rabbi Shimon Kolcha does not hold of our Tana. He doesn't have Gzerat Shava. But our Tana, why doesn't he hold of Rabbi Shimon Kolcha? So says the Gemara, my Tama. What's the question? Taile prazi prazi. Everyone understood the question. I'm answering the question with another question. The Gemara says, what? What are you asking? If I receive a masoret, I have a tradition from my rabbi, prazi prazi, so therefore, obviously, I'm not going to hold like you that it goes like logic. Meaning, what's the question at all? The other way around, I understand. Listen, if you don't have the Gzera Shava, so okay, so you go by logic. But then you say, but if you, our Tana, why doesn't he hold like Rishon and Kocha? Well, you got a Gzera Shava. If you have a Gzera Shava, why in the world am I going to say like a Rishon and Kocha? I've got a Gzera Shava. So answers the Gemara, no. Hachi Kamar, this is what the question was. Ela Shushan de Avda Keman. Who is Shushan? Right? Yeah? Who is the Shushan going like? What does that mean? If you learn the Gzera Shava, so how do they do the Shushan on the 15th? It's a prazi. So therefore, what's going on? So again, one more time. El Hachi Kamar. This was the question. The question was not, how does he hold? Because, one more time, if he has a Gzera Shava, there's nothing what to talk about. But what's the question? The question is, what happens by Shushan? Why? Was Shushan walled from Yoshua Binu? No. So then 1 second. So how do you in Shushan, how do you do the 15th then? So that's what he says. Ella Shushan de Avda Kaman. Where are you going like? Lo ke Prazim. It's not a dispersed city. Velo ke Mukafim, but it's not a walled city. So how do you do it then? So answers the Gemara, Amar Rava ve'amri la Kadi. Says Rava, and some people say, V'amri la, some people say, Kadi is the name of another Tana. Shane Shushan hoil v'nasa banes. It's an exception to the rule. Since the miracle happened in Shushan, we do it on the 15th, like every other walled city. But it's an exception to the rule, because in Achanam, you're right. All the other walled cities had to be from Yoshua bin Nun. There was an exception to the rule. Well, remember, to every rule, there's an exception to the rule. And the exception to the rule is Shushan. Why is Shushan an exception to the rule? Because it's when the miracle happened. The miracle happened in Shushan. So therefore, because of that, it's a special miracle. It's a special halacha. Okay? Fine. Dot. Continuing. Bishlema letana didan. It's good according to our Tana. Hainu dichtiv. That's what it's written. Medina umdina ve'ir ve'ir. Country and country, city and city. Medina Medina, one country to another country, is to be mechalek between mukafin choma from Yoshua bin Nun and mukafot choma from Achashverosh. Ir va'ir, one city to another city, is also to distinguish between Shushan and other cities. Right? Meaning like this, when I come and I tell you, why do I have to tell you in the Megillah? By the way, everybody has to read the Megillah, whether it's every country and country, every city, every family and family. Why do I have to tell you that? Why don't just in the entire world, you have to read the Megillah? No, every country and country, every city and city, every. So he says, each one was to teach you something. So country and country to differentiate between a walled city during the Yoshua bin Nun and a walled city of Achashverosh. City between Shushan and the other cities. But according to Rabbi Yoshua ben Korcha, I understand Medina between Shushan and other cities. But then why do I need from one city to another city? What is it coming to exclude? Because according to you, I don't have anything else. There's going to be a difference between walled cities of Yoshua bin Nun, walled cities of Achashverosh. There's going to be a difference between Shushan and every other city. But according to Rabbi Yeshua ben Korcha, I only start from Achashverosh. So if I only start from Achashverosh, I don't need extra, meaning I only need Medina, which is country and country to exclude Shushan and other cities. But that's it. So he comes and he says, right? Ela ve'ir va'ir lemayata. What does it come to teach you? So Amalecha Rabbi Yeshua ben Korcha is going to answer you, right? Continue. Ultana didan, and according to our Tana, minicha, do you need it? Kevan di le prazi, medina umdina lamali. I'm going to ask you a question. Why do I need medina if I already learned it from prazi? Prazi is a gzera shava. That's how I know to differentiate between Yoshua bin Nun and Achashverosh. So if I already learned it from prazi, I don't need the words Medina to teach you that. Ela b'mat. But rather, kra ledrasha udata. The entire pasuk is teaching you a drasha. What is it coming to teach you? Why? He says, right? It's coming like Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. Ta'amar Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, says Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, krach v'chol hasamuch lo v'chol hanireh imo nidon ki krach. When you have a city, which is going to be the walled city, anything which is close to it, samuch, or nireh, which appears beside it, is going to be like the big city. So ad kama, until how much? Amar Rav Yirmiyah v'yitem Rabbi Chia bar Abba k'machvatan leTveria mil. Like Machvata to Tveria, those are two cities. Machvatan is beside Tveria. Tiberia, as everybody knows. Machvatan, no. It's a mil. 1 mil. Now remember, the mil was just under a kilometer. You remember we said it was either 930, I think it was 930 or 970 kilometers, or 1.05 according to the Chazon Ish. It's right under a kilometer or more than a kilometer. If you want, we could always just translate it as a mile, even though it's not 100% accurate, because obviously the mile is more than a kilometer, right? But still, it's a measure. It's a measure. So says the Gemara, so why don't you just tell me mil? Velema mil. Just tell me mil. Hakmash Malan comes to teach you the shiura de mil kamahava. How much is the shiur of the mil? Kemachvatan letveria, like machvatan to Tveria, right? Like machvatan to Tveria, which means like this. What are we trying to do? Let
1 meter. There is in Paris. Le mètre étalon. There is the real meter within, and I don't know in which metal that don't move, and it's the reference.
The reference, exactly. So that's what it is. So the machvat and Latveria is a reference to teach you what is a mil. So if I ever wanted to know what's a mil, go to machvatan, measure it to Tveria, that's the mil. That's how I know. And that was derech agav, that's by the way, it was teaching us that is the mil. That's why it was a reference, okay? So one more time, let's go outside, right? We learned in our Mishnah, we came and we learned that there's going to be any walled city from Yoshua bin Nun, they read on the 15th. The Gemara asks, how do you know it's from Yoshua bin Nun? So the Gemara answer, we learn it from a Gzera Shava. In Devarim it says Prazi, and it says in the Megillah Prazim. So therefore we make Gzera Shava, whatever was a scattered city during the time of Yoshua bin Nun, was a scattered city during the time of the Megillah, Selam Shos. You remember because in the Gemara it said Mukafot Choma, but obviously it's meant scattered. It does not have a wall. You remember we had to erase the words Mukafot Choma, right? So therefore, that means whatever was walled during the time of Yoshua bin Nun is walled now. Whatever is not. Prazi, Gzera Shava. Rabbi Yeshua ben Korcha learned it from a svara, from logic. He said, listen, when did the miracle happen? During the time of Shushan, Achashverosh. Everything that's walled now during the time of Achashverosh, that's halakha. So that's very simple logic. That's it. So the Gemara asked, I understand why Rabbi Yeshua ben Korcha did not learn like Kartana, because he never learned Gzera Shava. So if he didn't learn from his rabbi, so he went after logic, so it makes sense. So why doesn't our Tana learn like Rabbi Yeshua ben Korcha? Ask the Gemara, why? If he learned from his rabbi Gzera Shava, there's nothing to. I cannot ask you. Listen, why do you do that? You say word prazi. You learn Gzera Shava. I can ask you then, why did you learn that? The second you learned it from your rabbi, you have a Kabbalah from your rabbi, there's nothing what to talk about anymore. I'm going to go after logics. You have a Kabbalah, that's it. Right? That's it. You learned it. That's it. Right? Fine. So the Gemara says it wasn't the question. The question was, what does Shushan do? Because Shushan was not walled during Yoshua ben Nun. So why does so what? So you're not going to do like Razim, but you're not going to do like walled. So what do you do with Shushan? Answers the Gemara, Shushan was an exception to the rule. Why? The miracle happened in Shushan. If the miracle happened in Shushan, even though it wasn't walled during the time of Yoshua ben Nun, you're going to always do it on the 15th. A special rule to do with Shushan. Says the Gemara, 1 second. Do you know in the Megillah it's written, right? Medina umdina, va'ir va'ir. Country and country, city and city. So he says, on our Tana, it makes sense. Why? When it says country and country, it's differentiating between a city that had a wall from Yoshua bin Nun to a city that had a wall from Achashverosh. And when it says the words, because basically what we're trying to say is, why do we say country and country, city, city? To differentiate between the different countries and different cities. So there's going to be some cities nowadays that they have a wall, but it wasn't a wall from Yoshua bin Nun. So no. There's going to be also cities. Oh, Shushan is different. So that's why. So country and country comes to differentiate between a walled city during the time of Yoshua bin Nun and a walled city of Achashverosh. And city is between Shushan and other cities. So that's why I had the different words. Meaning I had the different words like Ki'ilu teaching you that it's coming, that there's different minagim. There's different countries and different cities. And there's always the exceptions to the rule. According to Yoshua ben Kurcha, there's only one difference, right? What is it? The Shushan, and that's it. Because it's never from Yoshua bin Nun. So according to him, I only have Medina Medina. Why do I have Ir Va'ir? So says the Gemara, that's not a good question. Why? If you have Prazi, if you have a Gzera Shava, I don't need Medina Medina. Kilu, you were learning it from the words Medina Medina. To differentiate between one Medina that it's got basically that they have a walled city from Yoshua bin Nun and a walled city. I have Prazi. I don't need Medina. So says the Gemara, so why is it coming as a drasha? Meaning the entire pasuk over there is coming to teach you a drasha. What's the drasha? Even though it says Ir va'ir, city and city, and Medina, it's coming to teach you that it's not only just a walled city. Anything which is close to the city, and anything which looks with the city. Now we're going to see, right, that there's going to be different times that you have close and seeing it. So for example, when you say close to the city, it's right beside it, but sometimes you don't see it with the city. So you remember we brought down if it was in a valley or if it was on a mountain, right? You remember that means there's going to be differences. That means if it's going to be, I don't know if we actually brought it down until now, because the Gemara is going to say it. The Gemara is on Gimel Amud Bet. The Gemara says, "Krach v'chol hasamuch lo v'chol inyan imod dinon k'krach." What is samuch? Samuch af al pi sheno nireh af al pi sheno samuch. And the Gemara is going to ask, how do you have it that it's close by but you can't see it, or you could see it but it's not close by? So they come and they say the difference is going to be whether it's going to be on top of in a valley, right, or on the top of a mountain. So he says, nireh af al pi sheno samuch is on top of a mountain. So that means it looks like it, but it's not really close. It's on top of a mountain. But it looks like it. And then it's close, but it's not really look like it. It's in a valley. So really, Be'emet, it's very, very close by, but it's in a valley. So when you look at the city, you don't see the other city. There's the other cities down there. So the Gemara Gimel Amud Bet is going to talk about it. You're right. But the Gemara, so therefore, what the Gemara was saying is that when it says Ir Va'ir, it's coming to teach you that there's going to be cities that even though it's not really, so for example, Yerushalayim. All Yerushalayim was not walled. Har Nof was not walled. By the Gan was not walled. Even all the other places, nothing was walled. You know what was walled? Iratika. But the fact that all the other places are close by, they're samuch, so therefore they're all together, they read on the 15th. Now, machloket by Ramot, for example, if you remember, was because Ramot, there was a very big area that there was no houses in between. There was no connection. Little by little, they connected everything until Ramot, basically. The Mamash, then you have Ramat Shlomo, and all of Yerushalayim became all connected. So once everything became connected, so now it's all one city. But beforehand, a lot of shittot, it was a big machloket on Ramot. Some people used to do Tetvav. It was huge machlokot on Ramot. I remember. That's why we never used to sleep in the yeshiva. we used to go to like mamash like that to make sure, because if not, then you had a problem. Like mamash, like very problematic over there. You understand? So nowadays it's much more. Yes, it's like everything else. Why? It's all samuch. It's all considered samuch. Now you have other times that it's going to be nireh. So now it says the Gemara, what is considered samuch? So he says 1 kilometer. So that's what we talked about. That means if it's within the kilometer, right? And meaning within the limits of the kilometer, so it's going to be okay. Now again, what the meal. And what is a meal? Mechmata temeria. So why didn't we just say a meal? No, we wanted to tell you what is a meal. We gave you the measure, which was the measure that we already spoke about. Okay?